Hello, everyone. This is Jeff Foley with Paladin Financial. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Paladin Financial Talk with my much better co-host, Mr. Tony Shore. Hello, Tony.
The question is, Jeff, better than what?
Yes, we're going to leave that up to our listeners.
All right.
Moving right along. Yes, this week, what are we? Today is Thursday. The market has a little bit of a rebound as we're sitting here recording. Some further news on the tariffs, and that's good to see. We're in the green for the year, and we'll hopefully put the tariffs in our rear view mirror here pretty quickly.
It would be great if they came up with something permanent regarding the tariff situation where we knew it wasn't going to change in 90 days or next week. I think that would go a long way. Has there been any market movement this year that hasn't been tariff related? That's my question.
That's been the main driver.
I mean, it seems like it. Yeah.
Interest rates and earnings are always, are still out there on the front burner, but
sure.
Yeah, it's been positive otherwise, but this too shall pass. This too shall pass.
It's true.
And you have zero control over it, so don't fret too much.
True.
This week we're rounding out our episode over the past, 4 or 5 weeks on spring cleaning your finances. And we're going to kind of round this out a little bit and talk about top 10 ways to spring clean your finances. We had to workshop that before we hit record on what are we going to call this, but it worked out. Didn't plan this intentionally. Actually ended with 10 items. So here we go. Top 10.
Yeah. Top 10. The old David Letterman top 10.
Yes.
Those were great. And he throws the card, the glass breaks.
We should try that.
Yeah. We'll have to try that next time.
I'll be doing the throwing though. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you
I don't think I have the effects for glass breaking right now here. So, but next time we'll do a few top 10s and we'll model one around the Letterman top 10.
That would be good.
That will be fun. Yeah. It has been a while. I'll have to watch some of the old clips. Well, hey, I know you've been busy. And it is spring. In fact, I'm doing actual spring cleaning this weekend. We're actually hiring a dumpster to come. Wow. I'm cleaning up my garage. I mean, we've lived in the same house almost 30 years. So we've accumulated 3 kids, 4 pets. We have stuff. Yeah. Right? And we're going to get rid of stuff. And we have stuff in our garage we haven't touched in over 20 years. So why keep it is my thing. Yeah. Sarah's like, well, we should probably go. If you haven't touched something or looked at it in 20 years, are you going to miss it? That's my question.
That's true. Well, good for you. That's fun. We've been doing that the last several weeks as well, and didn't plan on it with spring, but just happened. We're ready to get rid of some stuff. So
sure,
that's good.
Well, what about regarding our finances? What do we need to clean out? Are we going to start with number 1?
Yeah, let's start with number 1. Number 1 is decluttering your budget. And if you go back a couple episodes ago, May 2nd, I'm going to reference a few of our podcasts that we've talked about some different things over the past month. But on May 2nd, Matt Bryant talked about budgeting, the B word, and digging into that a little bit. So that would be the first one, is declutter your budget, look at where the money is going, keep it simple. Yeah, you could have an app, and we'll talk about apps here in a moment, but start with your bank, go into your bank, download transactions. I'm a big fan of Excel, who isn't? But download things into Excel and look at where's your money gone and kind of categorize things and see what's happening there. So declutter your budget would be number 1. Number 2 ties in with that. Shred the dead weight in terms of unused subscriptions, things that you signed up for, and I'm guilty of this. You can watch a sporting event if you sign up for a 7-day free trial, and I never get around to doing that. So they at least get me for a month. But taking a look at the subscriptions that you have, there's some good tools out there. I've used Rocket Money off and on to look at that. So Rocket Money is an app that you can download and put that on your phone, link it to your bank account, and that will help identify. Some people even have more than one subscription for the same service. I don't know how that happens, but that will help you to identify recurring charges that are happening there.
Yeah, I admit that's happened to me. Yeah. We ended up with 2 HBO.
How does that happen?
What subscriptions?
2 email addresses, or?
Well, for us, it was we got one through some deal with something else, and then we had one already. So I ended up with 2. But the deal through something else, like T-Mobile, you get a free whatever, and maybe it was Netflix, but you got a free Netflix subscription with T-Mobile.
Yeah.
And then we already had Netflix. So I didn't really care because it was free, right? Well, it's only free for a time. Then they started charging me.
Yeah.
And then HBO came with a package I got through YouTube TV, which is how we watch TV, right? We stream. It's a streaming TV platform. So we do that. And then that came with HBO. And so I had 2 HBOs and 2 Netflix at 2 different times. And we had 10 TV streaming subscriptions overall, if you count them all, Paramount Plus, Disney. It is nuts.
That's crazy. With the sports stuff recently, it seems like it's gotten worse the last year.
It has. Like to see if you want to see every game of your team, you have to probably now be subscribed to like 4 different services a lot of times. Yeah. And that's not good.
You lose track.
Yeah.
Drives me nuts. But look at your subscriptions. Number 3, dust off your financial goals. So it's very easy to not have goals as a starting point. That's easy to fumble through life and not have any goals. But take some time to sit down and if you're single, do this by yourself. If you're married, walk through this together and think about what are your short and long-term goals. It's really easy if you don't put pen to paper and you're not conscientious about things, you're not intentional, that time slips by and you don't achieve the things that are important to you. So put a little bit of time into that. That's one of the benefits in working with a financial advisor. If you're listening and you don't, is you have someone to help force that issue and prioritize. You only have so much time. You only have so many dollars. Is what is most important to you. Let's start to create a plan to make sure that those things happen.
Yeah.
So that's a big one.
That is a big one. And you've talked about that a lot. Have financial goals, set them, get a plan in place, work with a financial advisor like yourself to do that. Right?
Yeah. And sometimes people hang on to goals that they had for a long time ago, and it's really not important to them anymore, but they're just kind of on autopilot with it. Number 4 would be tidying up your investment portfolio. Ellie talked about this a couple weeks ago, and rebalancing is a big piece of this, but also looking at your risk tolerance, reassessing what are we comfortable with from a risk perspective. This is a great year to look at that because we're reminded, hey, the market does go down. We don't have 2023 every year that occurs. So look at what you're comfortable with from a risk perspective and how does that compare to your things. If you think about it, if you're a married couple and one of you is here from a risk perspective, the other person is over here, your assets might be out in left field. You got a triangle. You want everything in alignment, ideally there. So take some time to look at how things are allocated and is that still right for you?
Yeah, a lot of people have no idea how they're even allocated or what's going on in their 401k or IRA.
No clue. No, I can't.
Okay. What in the world, Jeff?
What are we doing now?
Yeah, holy cow. Crickets.
Moving on. Number 5.
Yeah.
Clean up your credit. Many people are aware of this, but if you go out to annualcreditreport.com, that is, to my knowledge, that's the only federally authorized free credit report service, annualcreditreport.com. Go out there. You can do that once a year, pull your credit report and look that over and identify, you might have accounts that are at 0 balances. You've got 3, 4, 5 credit cards or things that have a 0 balance. That is an opportunity to hurt your credit, but it's also an opportunity for fraud to occur. Close those out if you're not using them on a regular basis. Make sure you're keeping an eye on those things, but you can also identify errors and potentially fraud as well. So make a habit of that. I would suggest print off your credit report, read through it, identify anything you need to take action on, take the cover page of that. And everyone's in the habit of when you do your taxes, everybody has their process, but you have your folder that you gather stuff throughout the year. Throw the first page of that credit report in that tax folder. Has nothing to do with taxes, but that's your annual reminder to take a look at that at the same time.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's a good life hack. I like that, Jeff. I'm going to start doing that because sometimes I forget and go, oh yeah, I haven't looked at that in a while. And you can pull the credit for free with no bad consultation if you do annualcreditreport.com.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Go through that.
Yes. Number 6, organize your financial documents. Matt Bryan talked about this on May 2nd in more depth. So I don't want to spend too much time on this, but identify what documents do you have tying in with spring cleaning. What can I get rid of? Does it make sense to maybe scan some things and you don't have the paper floating around, and get a little bit organized with that, but know what things you have in place. there. So that's number 6. Number 7 and 8, we're going to move into kind of family and legacy spring cleaning topics, if you will. And a couple episodes to look at. Nikki Foley talked about on May 9th some of these issues. And then Jeff Quick touched on some of these as well in his May 16th episode. But number 7 would be update your beneficiaries and your estate planning documents. Make sure that you have beneficiaries, number 1. They're up to date. You have names of updated if someone's been married or divorced, if you want to adjust for grandkids, et cetera. And the estate planning documents, a lot of people just got done with a meeting with a couple for the first time today, and they're in their 60s, no estate planning documents in place. Let's get that changed. So that's something kind of rabbit hole we can help people with, is get your estate planning documents in place, or if they're outdated, get those updated as well. But it's important to have good basic estate planning documents.
That's huge.
Yeah. Too many people walk around and don't have that in place. Can't emphasize that enough. Number 8, spring clean your insurance policies. One that really stands out, particularly because home prices have increased so much over the last few years, is actually look at your home and auto coverage. And that might be, start with, if you have State Farm or whoever, go into State Farm and go onto the website, review what your coverage is. But I would suggest have a call with your insurance agent if it's been a while, and review the coverage that you have in place. If your home value has increased by $150,000 according to the county over the last few years, you want to make sure that your insurance coverage is kept up to date with that. A lot of people don't do that, but make sure you've got the right amount of coverage. Same thing with your auto insurance, and you're not overpaying on things, you're not having unnecessary coverage, and even getting a second opinion from someone else. So for our clients, we have a great independent property and casualty agency that will look at our clients' home and auto coverage and review that for gaps, overpayment, et cetera. Same thing with your life insurance, your disability insurance. Do you have the right amount of coverage? A lot of people are underinsured for life insurance. Disability insurance is disability is one of people's biggest risks. Everyone focused more so on life insurance and premature death, which is an important one. But if you think about it, if you're in your 40s or 50s and you exit stage left from an employment perspective, but you're still here, you're still on the budget, that's almost a worse situation.
That is worse than actually, in ways, obviously. It's not worse for you than passing, probably, but for your family, it's going to be a financial burden. Yeah, for you and your family. Yeah.
So review the coverage you have through work, and do you have short, long-term disability? Does it make sense to have a policy outside of that? We won't get into the ins and outs of that here today, but that's something we can help people evaluate as well.
Yeah, a lot of people, you said something there, Jeff, and what I've learned and through you and others is that a lot of people are either way underinsured or they're overinsured, or they're underinsured in certain areas, but in another area, they might have insurance like policies that really aren't serving them in any way anymore, and they're still paying into them.
Yeah.
And that's not good either.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
Number 9, audit your financial tools and apps. So, for example, if you're using a Rocket Money or Every Dollar, if you're a Dave Ramsey follower, look at the apps that you're using, you're paying for, and oh my gosh, I forgot. I used to use this thing every day for years and then got out of the habit of it, and it was a great tool, helped me in a lot of ways. So take a look at your phone and your online logins to see what apps you have and do they still make sense for you.
That's a good idea. That's one that hasn't come up before. I know we use YNAB. You Need a Budget. Works really well for Sarah and I for our budgeting purposes to see the categories and stuff and kind of follow throughout the month where we're at. And it just imports from my account. And I know a lot of those apps work really well.
Yeah. Is that a paid, using the paid version?
That is a paid version. Yeah, that is paid. Yeah, you need to pay for that one. It's not too bad though. Most of them aren't too expensive, but that's a really powerful one. We're not even using half of what we could be on it, but it does help us keep track of the categories, and see where we're at. And really, you could use a spreadsheet. I mean, for us, it's just a matter of, it really makes it easy to import, and then it puts it in the categories that I have. So
I think knowing yourself and what works best for you is really important. So for a while, Nikki and I had a Saturday morning, we blocked off time every Saturday morning to review things, and whatever works best for you is schedule that time if that is helpful for you.
I think it's very helpful to look at least once a month before the new month begins and figure out your budget for the next month and what you've been spending, because that way you don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about our finances because we know where we're at. It's people put it off because they don't want to know, and then that kind of eats away. I think it causes stress.
Yeah. A little bit of time can have a big impact.
It has a huge impact.
Number 10, cybersecurity cleanup. So looking at the passwords that you have and making sure you don't have password 123 and some obvious things like that, but changing those periodically as well. Some people will if they're using Excel, for example, they'll have an Excel spreadsheet with a column of when the password was last updated, and you can roll back through that, say, okay, it's been 6 months or a year since I updated this one, I better change that. Also setting up two-factor authentication. A lot of entities, when you started the account, didn't have that. Now, if you log back in, it'll force you to say, hey, do you want to set up two-factor authentication? Highly recommend that.
Yep.
And then protecting against identity theft and scams. So one of the ways to do that is looking at your credit report, keeping an eye on that. But there are also services out there that you can subscribe to protect you and notify you if there are anyone trying to attempt to steal your identity.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
I've never used that service, but I've read about them and I've thought about it, because nowadays it's so, and especially with seniors, they're targeted with a lot of different scams.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, definitely. So kind of wrapping that up, those are 10 items to think about as a quick list to look at. Maybe take one of those every week for the next 6, 8, 10 weeks and try to knock those out. Take that as a goal. So encourage you to do that. Go back over the last month and listen to the last several episodes where we've talked about some of these different ideas to help you with spring cleaning, and build that into your rotation, whether it's having a reminder in your tax return folder or setting something up on your calendar, your Franklin planner, whatever your approach is. But be intentional with that, and you can see a lot of good results that come from that. So we hope that this has been helpful for you guys over the last several weeks with spring cleaning, and we'll roll on into summer and we'll see what we're going to talk about next. But I encourage you guys also, if you haven't taken a moment, to please give our podcast a rating. We would really appreciate that. It helps expose the podcast to other people. So if you found this helpful, take a moment to give us a review on whatever podcast app you're listening to or through, and also on YouTube. We would really appreciate that, and make it a great rest of your week. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Jeff. Great show today. Listeners, that does it for today's episode of Paladin Financial Talk with our host, Jeff Foley.